He, of course, Greg Louganis, the 4-time Olympic gold medal winner, the 6-time world champion. Many, including myself, consider him to be the greatest diver ever. He came out, so to speak, after his triumph to reveal his battle with AIDS in his autobiography, the book first, Breaking the Surface, and then the movie you just saw the clip of. He has now captured the last couple of years of his life in a brand new documentary video. It's called Looking to the Light. Welcome a true American hero and role model, Greg Louganis. My old buddy Robbie Brown says hi, and others. So how are you doing? How you been?
Good. I've been real good.
So this new documentary, let's start with the latest and we'll work our way back. Why a documentary? Why not another book?
Well, a lot of people wanted me to do another book, but I just didn't want to go through the process. I mean, that's minimum of a year, of just, doing the interviews and then having it edited and going through that whole process. So I wanted something a little bit more immediate. And on working on the film, Breaking the Surface, the movie, Steven Stern, the director, came up with the idea of doing a visual diary. And so I thought that was great. So
you know what it shows me? It shows me, first of all, that you're in wonderful health. You're so busy, but also it's kind of a lonely road, lonely life you lead on the road all the time, making speeches. They are very inspirational and very important, but you're working like a dog.
Well, yeah, I'm still out there, and it is lonely. But there's somebody in my life that I call.
Oh, tell us about. Tell us.
Well, no, it's just there is somebody that's there that's very supportive, and that's very important to me, and kind of keeps me grounded. Tells me to lighten up when I need to lighten up, and so that's nice to have, along with the dogs.
Yeah, right.
The
Plenty
dogs
of those
are always there.
So let's flash back. Let's flash back to when you had the scene we just talked about with your coach. You knew then. Did he know anything about your personal life at that point?
Well, I had come out to him about my sexual orientation way before, quite a number of years, actually back in 1978.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
And
so it's 10 years before you told the coach, more or less.
Well, I didn't know about my HIV status until 10 years after that.
I get
so that's when I was diagnosed with HIV.
In reviewing the material, I had no idea that you were stuck in a very abusive relationship. And indeed, the disease and the abuse were kind of linked. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I don't know if they're linked. I don't point the finger as far with regard to my HIV. I know that I was exposed to HIV prior to the knowledge of safe sex and that sort of thing. So, I don't blame who I call Tom in the book. I don't blame
manager?
Him.
Was he your manager?
He was my manager and partner.
So when you describe it as an abusive relationship, was he a very domineering kind of person who also physically abused you?
Well, that's what abuse is. It's all about control. It's not about love. It's not about force. It's about control. In the first year of my relationship with this man, he raped me at knife point, and a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people's reaction is like, "Well, God, you're an athlete. You're a world-class athlete. How can you allow that to happen?" And it happens to everybody. But it's not about the violence. It's about control.
How did you get out of the relationship?
I stayed, 6 years after that. So I thought, I could make everything better.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that, well, if I keep the house cleaner, if I make a better meatloaf, just absurd stuff like that, and to make things better, that it wouldn't ever happen again. But the abuse continued. It was more, more verbal and emotional.
Do you still love your abuser even now?
I still love him. I forgive him. I think that was the most important thing to learn in the process of doing the book, is to learn to forgive myself and then be able to forgive those who I feel that I've been wronged by.
Did he know he was HIV positive at the time he was making love to you?
Well, we had gotten involved with each other before we knew about safe sex. So I really, since he passed away of AIDS-related illnesses, and then my lover prior to him passed away of AIDS-related illnesses. So, I don't know. I don't blame. I don't point the finger. It's it is what it is.
All right, let me not hesitate to ask them, because I'm sure the tens of millions are very interested, because so many love you. Exactly what, I tell you what, this will be my cliffhanger. You'll tell us exactly what your physical situation is right now. I also want to ask you about the boycott that Disney is suffering. I want to ask all our panelists about that, because they're so-called gay-friendly. So I'll ask you about that, and your plans for the future. You are such an extraordinary person. You know, that image in our mind of your whacking your head on that platform and going on to win the gold medal is something that I think we'll never forget. No one who ever saw it will forget it. Greg Louganis, our guest, will be back right after the short message. Stay tuned.
Glamorous life. Picking up dog.
What they bleep, don't tell us. Well, this is very glamorous.
From Dr. Wald,
to go from that to this. Now, this is the treatment.
Yeah,
start the interleukin-2 treatment. That was the good news. The bad news was that what we had discussed is doing the higher dose, which is more severe reaction, and I was a little bit nervous about that.
What I'd like to ask you, as someone who's having a very difficult time dealing with their own sexual orientation, and an athlete and a student and surrounded by a lot of hate in my family, what kind of advice do you have to give me? Because anything you could help me would really, really mean a lot.
Well, first of all, come here.
That's wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. Tell us, well, where is that? Was that a college?
That was at South Florida University, where Senator John Grant didn't want me to come speak. So
because
it was
says you're not a role model, you're a degenerate or something.
Yeah, I said that I was promoting my lifestyle. It's so funny because I talk to people about
You mean cleaning the dog mess up?
Yeah, that's more my lifestyle than the gay lifestyle. There is no such thing.
Okay, how's your health? Tell us.
How's my health? My health's good. I started IL-2 treatment earlier this year, and they wanted to see at least 100 or 200 T-cell count increase, and I went from like 60 to 260 T-cells.
Wow, that's great.
Viral load.
Really?
Yeah.
Deb had a question? Yes, hi.
He has a question. I can remember being inspired when you made that dive after you were hurt, and I just can't imagine what was going through your mind when you're ready to make that dive for the gold, and you've got those.
And but the one thing that was going on, I was paralyzed with fear because I didn't know what to do, because I didn't know what my responsibility was. I knew that I was HIV positive. I knew I was in a country that would not welcome me being there. So, you know, it was a really frightening time. But the one thing that came to mind is I asked myself, what would Ryan White do in this situation?
The youngster who died of AIDS.
Yeah, Ryan White was a friend of mine who contracted HIV through his clotting. Hemophiliac got HIV through his clotting agent. And so, you know, we were good friends. And I knew that he was a fighter. So he was really my inspiration. And so afterward, I did give Jeannie White my Olympic gold medal from the 3-meter springboard.
That's great.
So it's at the Ryan White Foundation.
All right, let me briefly ask you, I'm going to ask all our panelists today, the boycott of Disney by the Southern Baptists because of, you know, Ellen DeGeneres and their other gay-friendly policies, is they give spousal rights to gay couples, et cetera. What do you think about the boycott?
Well, I think that's really absurd. I mean, because, you know, I go to colleges and universities, and, you know, I talk about letting go of secrets and coming out and that sort of thing, just really freeing yourself. You know, because I was born this way. I didn't choose this. You know, I'm just born this way, just as I was born dyslexic. So, you know, I don't, you know, I have a real problem with that. And I think when people understand that it's not a choice, then I think that and get to know people who are gay, then there's less fear.
Day of Compassion today, tell us.
Day of Compassion, Well, what it means to me, I feel that it should be a day of education because, you know, the growing HIV community is amongst our youth, which is really frightening. And now with protease inhibitors and that sort of thing, people are saying that HIV is manageable. Well, what's manageable? I mean, I've been on some of those protease inhibitors, and the side effects are horrible. They're horrible. I mean, why would you want to put yourself through that? So I go to colleges and universities and encourage young people to love themselves enough to protect themselves and those they're with.
Love yourself enough to protect yourself and those they're with. One more question.
Hi, Greg. I'm a teacher in San Antonio, Texas, and I know that we need good role models like you, and you are one great role model, an inspiration to everybody, and I wish you the best of luck and health in your future.
Well, thank you. I have a real problem with role model. Role model is tough because we're all only human. We got to be the best people that we can be for ourselves and be our own heroes, really, and our own role models.
Looking to the Light. It's the visual diary, Greg Louganis. I guess you can get it at video stores near you.
No, actually, this is a pre-release, limited edition.
What is the 800 number? The 800 number is, flash on the screen. Hello. And here it is, the 800 number. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Big news on the Jomini Ramsey front. There are now 500,000 new reasons to find her killer. Greg Louganis.